There she is.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
Good morning.
Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hi. Good to see you guys.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've all been here. Oh, nice cup.
Thanks.
We kind of compliment one another.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. There was a guy that just did it's a YouTube channel. It's called Film Theory. And he was like talking about how James Gunn now has control of the DC universe, and he was giving him advice, to stop trying to shove a Superman object into a Batman shaped hole.
Yeah, I'm down with that advice.
Yeah. He said they ran the filter of Batman through all the characters, and you can't do that. And he said Marvel didn't do that. Here's an example. And he showed Winter Soldier as opposed to Ant-Man, as opposed to some of the others. And he said, here's an espionage movie. Here's a film heist movie, He said they got close. He said people liked Aquaman because it was sort of like an Indiana Jones-ish feel.
Right.
And it was like, okay, we can do that. Wonder Woman. And he said, Wonder Woman, the good one, was very, historical, World War I, that feel, And Batman, the Batman was very film noir. So,
yeah.
So like, all right, yeah. It's a really good channel. I enjoy how he breaks those characters down because they just, I don't know. I think James Gunn will be all right. If he can get the three main ones, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, if he can get them right, then I don't think it's a problem to get, some off the wall thing like Marvel did with Guardians.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Superman is the challenge. Like, Superman is the hard one.
Yeah. He's always
right.
over or underpowered. Can we not have kryptonite be the thing all the time?
Well, it's tough to write a story about basically Jesus with a cape.
Right.
I mean, which is kind of what Superman is. He's invulnerable. He's altruistic. He's ultimately moral.
Right.
He doesn't seem to have any real failings. I can see where it's a challenge. It gives you kind of gives you pause to what a good job Richard Donner did back in the 70s with his version. I mean, he did about as good a job portraying the personality of the character, I think, as you logically can.
Yeah, it's hard when your character has, you have to invent conflict. Right. And no conflict really works when you're involved. Actually, my kids discovered when they were little, that it was no fun to play Superman. Like, nobody wanted, okay, well, you can't be Superman because that's no fun because Superman always wins.
I can't hurt you.
Lois Lane can get only into so much trouble.
Right. And then you just end up hating Lois Lane. Like, I always was like, come on, Lois.
Come on.
Thinking moron. Come on.
Yeah.
No, the other thing that they've gotten into trouble with Superman to me is that he can do almost anything. He can turn back time. He can lift an entire building. He can move planets.
Right.
So I grew up with Batman and Superman basically because of television, and I love them. But when I really started getting into superheroes, I gravitated more toward the Marvel characters because of the human failings, because of the conflicts, because of the trying to find that balance between their superhero life and their regular life, and the regular relationship things they had to deal with, and the job things, and they were grounded to a certain enough that you cared about them as people.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well,
beyond the grandiose super conflicts they had to deal with.
Right. They're people who happen to have superpowers, whereas Superman is essentially a vessel for the superpowers.
Right.
What's
interesting, I subscribe to Marvel Unlimited. So basically, you've got their whole library, access to the whole library online. Going back to even World War II, some of the World War II comics. And I'm reading the 1970 era version of Captain America. This stuff is great. When he first meets the Falcon and some of that 70s vibe, but the humanity and the relationship part of it's just so neat. It's like if Marvel Studios really wants to, they've got plenty of plenty of source material to go back to and tell really great, compelling stories. And it just seems like they're tripping over themselves lately, just trying to churn out
Yeah.
what they consider new stuff. It's been eye-opening. It's been really been eye-opening.
Well, I'm excited for the Flash movie. I'm also surprised because Ezra Miller probably should be in jail, but the fact,
I mean, the Michael Keaton movie featuring the Flash.
Basically, yeah, I was shocked. I thought he was going to be a cameo based on the first trailer we saw. I don't know, goodness, a year and a half ago or something crazy, and I was like, because I was returning to my childhood. Like I literally went back to 1989 in my head. And then I saw this last one and I'm like, oh my God, he's doing stuff. Like lots of stuff. And then I was a bit confused about Supergirl for a moment, but I understand why they did it. Because in the Flashpoint animated movie, it was Superman they found that was being held captive in a red lit like room to keep him depowered. And in that animated movie, that's probably one of the best Flash movies and maybe the only one out there right now so far, that they let him go, and then that's when he basically destroyed the world. So Flash had to run back into the present day, future day, I don't know, back to the future, Marty McFly it back over to 1980 something. And but yeah, it was a good movie. It was a good animated movie. So I can see when I saw that in the trailer, I was like, okay, obviously they let Henry Cavill go, so this wasn't going to happen. So they ran out and said, okay, Supergirl.
I haven't heard you say a word since the Super Bowl about the TV spot for the new Transformers movie, Jason.
Oh yeah, because it's fine.
It's fine. That's kind of the mindset I'm putting myself in for the new Ant-Man movie. It's like I don't want to have I want to lower my expectations. So if it's another dud, I'll go, well, okay. It's what I expected.
I mean, it's okay to do, it's okay to do Beast Wars. It is. It's okay, I guess. But
it sounds like you're talking yourself into that.
He's trying to warm himself up to it, but it doesn't sound like you're being very successful.
Yeah, I'm not. No, as soon as the gorilla came out of the waterfall that's a robot, I was just like, really? Really? We're doing this? We're doing that. Okay, great. And if he says that's just Prime, I'm just going to leave the theater. Because I'm like, this works if you're 12.
Right.
And if you go back and you look at Beast Wars, it wasn't that successful. It wasn't really great.
No.
It was it was at that time when they just figured out hey, do you know we can make cartoons without actually animators and just use computers? And it looked like crap.
It's a time capsule.
Yeah, it is.
It's a time capsule piece. I mean, it's a slice in time.
Yeah, very much. And then they had to retcon in oh no, this is Earth billions of years ago. And I'm like, but there's creatures you're showing that didn't exist that we don't have. And I know that's really nerdy because everybody's just like, dude, it's about robots that turn into things. I don't think scientific accuracy of archaeology or paleontology is important.
No, but you can make an attempt. I mean,
yeah, you could
make a token effort.
Oh, it's important too, though.
Makes sense.
The paleontologists and the archaeologists, it's important to them.
You have to accommodate the suspension of disbelief. If you don't do that, then you can't believe it.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, even Star Wars, up until a certain point, was like, okay, gravity's a thing, and here's how it works. And then we got Episode 8, and you're like, they can drop bombs in space on other objects? Because I was pretty sure if they just let go of the bomb, it would just go. That opening scene, that killed the whole movie for me. I don't care about Purple Lady crashing into another ship at light speed. I cared about the fact that when they opened the movie up, physics was absolutely ignored.
Well, I guess you could make an argument. In The Empire Strikes Back, when they're bombing the asteroid trying to find Millennium Falcon, when the Falcon's hidden inside that what they think is an asteroid, they're dropping kind of the space equivalent to depth charges on the asteroid. unless that asteroid has a strong gravitational field, your point kind of still holds there too.
Right.
Boy, I'm getting way off on this.
I mean, yeah, we get way off on that because I could say like, well, that's kind of like part of the physics of landing on the moon.
There's also no sound in space, so that cool sound that TIE fighters make doesn't really exist either. Anyway,
yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah, moving on. Welcome to the NerdBrand Podcast, everybody. There's a bunch of start the show going off the rails. We welcome back Dana Herra, and today we're talking about spring cleaning. Is it time to spruce up your content strategy? And if you're still here listening to all of this, then, good for you, because it's all content.
It's part of our content strategy.
Yeah. It's a Friday. Thank God we made it to another Friday. We got parts of the country exploding. We got places over as seas that we don't know what's going on with World War III or not. We got like more craziness than we could have ever hoped for from 2020 and 2023. So I'm excited.
Don't forget the UFOs.
Oh, yes. And we shot down balloons with missiles that should have been saved for, I don't know, real problems.
We're returning to like Civil War era military tactics.
I told my mom the other day because they saw Top Gun 2 and they're like, yeah, we loved it. And I said, yeah, the third one's coming out. And it's just Tom Cruise running around the room, popping balloons with a pen, making
airplane sounds.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
We want to thank our listeners for tuning into this episode of the NerdBrand Podcast. You can check out this episode and future ones at nerdbrandagency.com/podcast or head to Apple Podcast or Spotify app and search for NerdBrand and download and subscribe. We'll see you next week, and remember, keep your NerdBrand strong.